Hello and welcome to the TES Secondary Maths Resource of the Week number 3 for the 2016 to 2017 academic year with me, Craig Barton. Now, during Resource of the Week number 1, a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about how I like to differentiate whilst during a rich task in my lessons. And I'm absolutely obsessed with effective differentiation, and anyone who's heard my podcast or heard me speak will know that I'm a great believer in differentiating by question as opposed to different activities. And I like students to all start by doing the same task and then go off in slightly different directions. And this lesson is a fantastic example of that, because whilst there are different worksheets going to be involved here, crucially the essence of the activity remains the same for all students, which leads to a nice cohesive lesson. It means students can work together no matter what bit they're on, and you can bring it together nicely at the end. And I think this is just such a lovely lesson. It's called Cost of Jewellery, and it's been uploaded by Jelly Maths, and all it consists of is a single PowerPoint, but within that PowerPoint are 3 different lessons. So let me show you. So this is the red lesson, red for the kind of the least challenging of the 3 lessons, and they all start off the same way. We get a little introduction to Campden Jewellers. The store owners created 6 new types of earring and trying to decide how much to sell them for. They're made out of gold and silver, and you get a little bit of info down here: area of a circle and area of a trapezium. And obviously it's up to you whether you give students that information or not. And then there's the worksheet, and all students need is that single worksheet. How much would each pair of earrings cost to make? So you get a little bit of information here. Each gold square costs 10, each silver square costs £5, each hot hook costs £2. And students have got to excuse me, flipping heck. Students have got to work out the cost of each of these earrings. Now there's a couple of reasons I like this. Firstly, it's simple. It's just on one sheet. No big complicated instructions are needed. Like with a little 2-minute intro, you're straight into the activity and kids are learning and working together straight away. But secondly, there's a couple of ways of approaching this. I mean, you'll get some students who want to immediately use the area of a trapezium formula for this shape here on the right hand side. But who's to say that's the more effective way? Who's to say that it's not possible to do that by counting squares? Likewise, you'll get some students arguing that it's possible to do the areas of the circles by counting squares as well, and that can lead to a really nice discussion about that. What I also like is there's no measurements given on any of these. So do students know what the radius of that little circle is there? And that leads to a nice little discussion about how do we know the radius without measuring it? What is the radius and so on, and using the little squares and all that kind of stuff. Really, really nice. And you've got some nice interesting shapes here. Obviously you've got your trapeziums and your circles. I really like this earring on the top left here, because students may be tempted just to work out the area of the rectangle and add on your 2 areas of your square, 2 areas of the circles. But of course you're going to need to do a little bit of subtraction in there as well. So really nice, and some nice triangles and a bit of a kite going on down there, and a semicircle and so on. So that is the kind of setup for the red lesson. And then you get a little bit of an extension here. The jewellery store owner wants to make a profit of 50%. So how much does he need to charge? So again, we're bringing in different areas of mathematics there. So really, really nice. You kind of next level up from this, then I'll talk about what I do with it. Oh, I should say as well, nice bit of final extension bit here. When extension, design your own earrings, how much your earrings are going to cost to make and so on. Which pair of earrings was the cheapest, which was the most expensive, and so on. Anyway, let's have a look at the orange lesson, then I'll talk about how I run this in the classroom. So your orange has the exact same setup, and I really like that. Nothing different needed here. Same information, but if we look at the earrings, they're just slightly more challenging. We've got this little kind of psychedelic little image going on here. We've got the classic circles, going to need a little bit of subtraction going on, and then we have similar shapes that we had on the previous one, just on the right hand side there. So a little bit more challenging in terms of the shapes that the students have to work with, but crucially the exact same skills are being involved there. And then we have the same, this time 75% profit. He's cleaning up this jeweler here, and then the same extension, design your own. Now of course the design your own could lead to construction, get the compasses out to do the circles and all that kind of stuff as well. And let's have a quick look at the green lesson before I chat a little bit more. Green, it'll be no surprise to you what's going to happen here. Firstly, the costs are having changed to make them slightly more difficult, and then we've got slightly more difficult shapes. We've got this one down here that we haven't seen before. You kind of quarter of a circle, kind of sectors of a circle needing to take things away from each other, and how do students know without measuring that that actually is a quarter of a circle, and so on. So just again, slightly more challenging there. This time he wants to make 42% profit, of course he does, and then your usual extension activity. Now, the way and then, sorry, I should say this as well. Look at this final twist. He's not using pure gold anymore, gold and silver alloy. So find out the new cost of earrings. So just a nice bit of extension work there. Now, when I ran this in the classroom, I started everybody off on the middle lesson. And I should say, sorry, I ran this with a pretty high ability year 9 class. So I started everybody off on the orange lesson. And as I'm circulating around, if I saw that students were struggling, then it was very easy for me just to change their worksheet from this one to the red worksheet, because the students didn't feel too bad about it, and it wasn't like obvious that they were on a completely different worksheet to their neighbour, and they could still, because some of the shapes are still the same, they could still work together with the people around them to get help, but it just meant that they were supported that way. And likewise, if I saw students were absolutely flying, I'd just quickly change their worksheet to this one, and once again there are still crossover shapes in there, so students can still work together, everyone's still working to try and figure out the area and work out the profit and the cost and all that kind of stuff, so it doesn't feel like students are doing completely different work. So it still leads to that nice cohesive lesson that I'm a big fan of. So look, this for me was a really successful lesson. Students learned loads about area, about estimating, about working out percentage profit, all that kind of stuff, and they found it challenging because these weren't the conventional shapes that they were used to. And then the second lesson we had some time designing our own, which meant that students could get out the compasses, get out the rulers. I tended to use big centimetre square paper for it, and it was just a nice, challenging, engaging lesson that I was a huge fan of. So not only if you're doing the topic itself, I hope you find this useful in terms of area and so on, but just that idea of having 3 versions of the same task, subtly different from each other, I just think is quite a nice way of getting that differentiation right without making students feel bad that they're doing completely different work. Anyway, hope that was useful, and I shall return with a fresh resource of the week next week. Take care, and bye for now.